r/AskReddit. Pawn shop owners, what was the most illegal thing a customer had brought to your shop? Employee not owner. A guy brought in a stack of like 15 laptops that all said property of City Public School right on the top of each one. He then threatened to shoot me when I told him to get out. Edit. Yes, I'm aware that schools/businesses, etc. sometimes sell off old laptops. Which is why I don't flat out call the cops whenever somebody brings in a suspected stolen item. There's always the chance that no matter how obviously stolen it is, the person owns it legit. However, I'm not going to risk my job or my conscience by taking in an item if it has a label on it claiming it's somebody else's property. Also, how am I supposed to sell a laptop that says property of City Public Schools on it? Pawn shops have a bad enough reputation as it is. What's the proper protocol for a situation like this? Call the cops? Boot the guy? Kick them out and lock them out of the system? As someone who currently works logistics in City Public School, I absolutely believe this. We constantly look at Facebook Marketplace and similar places and find dozens of our devices for sale. A guy literally brought in an RPG. He was doing yard work for this old lady whose husband had passed. She gave it to him for doing some yard work, not realizing it was live and active. The guy was career military, and after the bomb squad came and disabled it, they went to her house and found a trove of similarly very illegal military grade weapons. Not that I'd want anyone to get hurt, but a little old lady in a violent standoff with police would seriously break the tension. Old lady with rocket launcher or squad of police with pistols, who wins? Old lady distracts police squad with knitted sweater. Not an owner, but I got a call from a pawn shop saying that one of my at-home employees tried to sell her work computer. It has my company's logo and contact info right on it, plain as day. How stupid can some people be? A school security guard pawned his service pistol and other equipment. He got caught by his supervisor carrying around a pellet gun. Why am I not at all surprised that it's Florida? I knew someone once who was into some bad stuff. He didn't have his school provided laptop at class one day and never again after that. As it turns out, it was his, for these laptops were indeed our own personal property, even though the school gave them to us. But the thing is, what they meant by giving each student a nice, free laptop was overcharging that mother ducker ×2 and building it into the price of tuition and, therefore, the student loan. So, I had that computer for a while. He sold his to a pawn store. How many college students do you know would refuse a new MacBook Pro back in 2010 that they wouldn't have to pay for until they began paying back their student loan? MacBook Pro at twice the price. I wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole. So I'm not an owner and I wouldn't call this illegal, but I feel like I have to share this. A friend of mine owns a pawn shop, and one day a dude walks in with a cardboard box filled to the top with his own shit. He claims that it's magic and my friend cuts him off right there and kicks him out. As he is walking out, he drops the box on accident, gets all of his shit on the floor, sees the mess he's made, stares at the horrid pile of shit for a couple of seconds, and runs out of the shop. My friend never got his name and never saw him again. The smell would proceed to linger in the shop for a good month after it was cleaned up. I wonder if that guy got his shit together. Nope, he lost his shit a long time ago. Not an owner, but an employee. A man brought in a bag of cocaine and said if I would buy it then wrestle it back to him in a couple of days. Hey boss, this guy just sold us 10 kilos of cocaine and wants to buy it back in a few days. Weird, what's the point in just exchanging 5 kilograms of drugs back and forth? Is this some sort of scam? I don't know. When he comes back to pick up his 2.5 kilograms we'll have to ask about that. Today police recovered 299 kilos of cocaine. 299. Yeah. Buddy of mine worked at a pawn shop for a few years. They had a guy try to sell them a police walkie-talkie, like straight stolen from a car, but with the battery taken out. They told him to get ducked and called the cops. I believe they picked the guy up a few hours later. How is that possible if the guy could hear their every communication? Lies. But with the battery taken out. He got charged, but not with battery, so that was probably a smart move. The charge of battery was discharged when the assumed discharged battery was found, fully charged. Just a worker here, but we had a couple come in to pawn their backhoe over the weekend. Happens a lot, and brought their bill of sale. They wanted a simple $1,000 loan, which wasn't bad considering how much it was worth. No more than 30 minutes later, cops are there with the owner. Apparently they worked for him and went and pawned all of his industrial equipment. How did that go? You had to return it, I assume. Did you get your $1,000 back from the thief? It went as well as they usually do. Police confiscated the item to use it in court to try and extend the sentence. We lost the $1,000 because cops tried to tack it on during the legal process. We receive restitution from them for usually a week of about $50 payments, then no more payments after, usually because they aren't working or aren't making enough in jail. Worked at a gun shop and a shady looking guy brought in a few pairs of night vision goggles, like high-end military grade PVS 14 night vision goggles. Ask him why he was selling them. Oh, I just don't need them anymore. Cool man, do you mind if I call the company real quick and run the numbers? Sometimes this stuff is stolen property. And as soon as I said that, he jumped across the counter, grabbed the goggles, and bolted for the door. This just reminded me of my friend who pawned the DSLR camera I let him borrow for a school project. I asked for it back a good amount of times, and not once did he tell me what he did. I had to hear it from someone else, and then he claimed that I gave it to him. Did you get the money back? What camera was it? Nope. He never paid me for it. And it was a Canon EOS Rebel T3i. They aren't worth much now, but this was 5 years ago, and it broke my heart because it was a gift from my dad, and I had considered him a close friend. A friend of mine owns a rather unique store, not a pawn shop, but he sells a lot of authentic medieval weaponry, armor, clothing and similar. While I was there, a young couple decided his shop was the place to sell a few old SS daggers, belts, flags and other Nazi memorabilia. Solid logic, except for one thing. We are in Germany. Here the state kind of frowns upon owning or selling this kind of stuff. They could have donated it to any museum and would have had no issue with the law whatsoever. I mean, it was not their fault they found it, right? But they figured that if grandpa was an artsy, he could at least help with the funds for the renovations, and decided cash was better than being named in a museum leaflet. My friend was mostly insulted by the idea that just because he owns a medieval store and sells historic weapons, he must know an artsy collector that would pay cash, but that was the end of it. He told them to get out and donate it, or if they insist on selling it, to ship it to the US. More money from history buffs, or at least not one happy little German Nazi with a new happy stabby toy. I never thought about how Germany treats stuff like that. That's very interesting. Well, given our history, accusations start to fly rather quickly. We do not want to give these accusations any more basis than they, sadly, have, so a bunch of stuff is illegal. I didn't work there, but was there at the time. A guy brings in a dead duck, which hunting is illegal in my area. I'm still asking myself why, just why. Come on Dwight, we talked about this. No dead animals in the office. I had this guitar that had a little sliding door on the side, meant to hold picks. I put weed in there as a joke. Completely forgot about it as I was selling it. They were chill. You could put your weed in there. Not a pawn shop owner, but was in the pawn shop when this happened. Someone brought in a wheelchair with a tag for the local hospital on the back. Example, property of somewhere hospital. The pawn shop owner told them to leave it and get out. They didn't. He called the non-emergency line. The police came and picked it up and took it back to the hospital, or that's what they said they were doing. In a similar vein, my friend found some weed in the oven he bought from a used appliance store. The shop called him to ask about the oven. Luckily, he didn't give out his address. "Sir, how's the oven? Did you want to trade it back?" "Nope. It bakes real good." Literally had a customer come in and say, "Hi, I've just stolen this phone off my sister. How much will you give me for it?" Also had a customer bringing 5 MacBooks at the same time, with a certain logo on it which gave me the impression they were stolen. Told him to leave them with me for testing, and called the police. Had another customer bringing a gun and a crossbow. That was weird. I'm in the UK. This is not a normal thing. This might sound ridiculous, but can you guys not just buy a gun at a supermarket? Not at all. Getting a gun in the UK is a very hard process after Dunblane. You have to have a reason, shooting club/hunting for instance, have a safe installed, have an interview, they will ask why you want a particular caliber, check your gun safe, and then you wait for a certificate. Can take weeks/months from deciding, I want a gun, to actually getting it. The physical gun you can only buy in gun stores, which are not common, once you get the certificate. Friend of mine owns a shop. One day a woman walks in and asks if there was a female employee she could talk to. No problem, it's a family shop and his 18-year-old daughter comes out to help her. She asks to go out to her car, where she opens the trunk. Whole thing is packed with sex toys, bondage shit, outfits and a big box of dildos. Woman says her sister who recently passed away sold this stuff at parties, and she had no idea what to do with it. Not illegal, but hilarious.